Well, that's another WrestleMania in the bag for this year. And although it was a very good show and was well worth staying up late for on the WWE network over here in the UK, I'm not about to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh my god, best WrestleMania ever, like so many others have been doing. But it certainly had its moments. If the sight of J&J Security running into Patterson and Briscoe, the original Stooges, backstage wasn't enough on the pre-show, we also had Booker T shamelessly plugging his book and giving us such words of wisdom like, women just hate each other, dog! Yeah, cheers for that, mate. So, WrestleMania, the pre-show kicks off. The Fatal 4-Way match for the tag team titles was a good chaotic opener to get the crowd going, although it does sadden me just how few tag teams they have at the moment. I mean, maybe splitting up the Wyatts and the Dust Brothers wasn't such a good idea. Los Matadores put in a very good performance, which just goes to show that underneath that terrible gimmick is a really talented team. The New Day worked just as hard, but it felt like they were dragging down the proceedings more than anything. They also got almost no reaction as well, so I think it might be time to get shut of this gimmick before it causes damage to the three guys that's in the team. The match involved a lot of high spots and people jumping on each other, not to mention El Torito, Xavier Woods, Natalia and Naomi all getting involved as well. Jey Uso had injured his shoulder before the event, so they worked in a storyline during the match where Cesaro tossed him into the guardrail and put him out of action, leaving it up to Jimmy to try and win it, sort of try and go alone for his team. He almost won it as well after hitting multiple super kicks on just about everyone, hitting his running ass attack in the four corners on four opponents, and then from hitting the top rope splash on Big E. But it was Cesaro who took advantage of the situation and managed to steal the pinfall victory for a successful defense for him and Kid. Although, to be honest, it did get confusing at times as to who was actually the legal person. Even the announcers seemed to be confused at times, which didn't help matters. From there, Lita was backstage with Todd Phillips and seemed to tease the idea of her and Trish Stratus against the Bella Twins. Something for next year's WrestleMania, perhaps? Everyone in the Fatal 4-Way then stuck around to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal as well, which had also been moved to the pre-show. Hideo Itami from NXT made his WrestleMania debut in this match, having won a Fatal 4-Way over the weekend, with the winner getting to join the Battle Royal. To be honest, I would have thought that Adrian Neville would have been the one to get inserted into this match, especially considering that he made his main roster debut on the Raw after WrestleMania. More on that later. Miz and Mizdow worked together to eliminate Miz's former protege, Alex Riley. Nice bit of continuity there. Big Show took out all three members of the New Day by himself. Cesaro eliminated Kane in the same way that he eliminated Big Show in last year's Battle Royal. Then Cesaro attempted to eliminate Big Show and win for a second year running, only to find that Big Show had gotten wiser to Cesaro since last year. Big Show's elimination of the Swiss Superman got boos, but it was a great way to play on last year's finish. Damien Mizdow's storyline with The Miz finally came to its finale, other than their upcoming match of course, as Mizdow turned on his boss and eliminated him from the Rumble. Battle Royal, whatever. He then turned out a great performance against the Big Show that got the crowd red hot that Mizdow was going to win the Battle Royal. It would have been nice if that had happened, but no, Big Show won. I mean, come on, really? The ending was a bit of a letdown. Big Show didn't need this victory as much as Mizdow did. I mean, great way of giving the people what they don't want. I mean, Big Show surely has got to be reaching the end of his career now. Unless, of course, this match was like, I don't know, his retirement match, his going away present. I don't know. WrestleMania started off properly then, with sort of the pre-show all done and dusted, and it kicked off properly then with the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I predicted that this was either going to be a complete clusterfuck of a match, or it was going to be the best match of the night. To be honest, it did neither, but it was still an excellent match, and it gave all 7 men a chance to get their spots in, including a nasty-looking superplex off the ladder from Bad News Barrett to Stardust, and a dangerous-looking powerbomb over the top rope through a set of ladders from Harper to Ambrose. I'm hoping Ambrose got paid extra for doing that particular spot. Stardust, who looked like a can of tango in this match, even pulled out his own glittery ladder from underneath the ring. Bling bling. Oh, and of course, it isn't a ladder match until someone puts the ladder on their shoulders and starts spinning around with it. The headbutt fest between Bryan and Ziggler was a dramatic way for this match to end, as it exploited Ziggler's history with concussions, and it allowed Bryan to get the better of his opponent and win the IC belt. Although I hope we do see more matches between him and Dolph in the near future. Bryan's a great fit for the Intercontinental title, and will no doubt make the title seem important again. It's also a good way to appease the fans now, so that they're not chanting for Bryan during the main events. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton also had an excellent match, with the two of them teasing their finishes throughout, as well as the near falls that followed after those moves were actually hit. Rollins' springboard moonsault to the floor was a sight to see, as was his Phoenix Splash that he showed for the first time at the Royal Rumble. The ending was brilliant, as Orton countered a curb stomp into a mid-air RKO for the finish. Holy shit, that was awesome. Rollins may have lost here, but it now also made it much more likely that he'd be cashing in his Money in the Bank later on that night. Sting versus Triple H was on sooner than I expected, but I suppose these older men have got early bedtimes. Sting in particular had a lot more passion in this match than what he's had in TNA over the last few years. But I guess that's what happens when you stick a legend in the ring opposite EC3 and a stoned out of his mind Jeff Hardy. Oh, and he wasn't wearing a t-shirt either. The entrances were a sight to see as well. Sting had a sort of kabuki-themed entrance, which doesn't really seem to fit his character. There was smoke and face-painted men playing drums. A good entrance, just not something that really fits the Sting character, in my opinion. Triple H's entrance involved Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator endoskeletons, and futuristic armour for the game. It made me wonder if Sting was going to get his old buddy RoboCop to come out and help him. I don't know, maybe they're saving that particular match for WrestleMania 32. Sting and RoboCop versus Triple H and the Terminator. Hey, we can do that match on All-CAW Wrestling if you want. Give us a shout if you want to see it. Maybe in a Randomness Rules event or something. The match itself was a good old-school type affair, with plenty of storytelling between two of the best in the business. Sting showed that despite his age, he's still in great shape. Although I was a little distracted by the huge bruises that both men had. Sting had like a large bruise on his back, whilst Trippers had one down his leg that made it look like he'd shit himself. I guess these older men bruise easier as well. But as far as the ending was concerned, yeah, okay, we get it. WCW lost the Monday Night Wars. Is there any particular reason why you'd bring this back up? Why did DX come out? Why did the NWO come out? Since when has the NWO had Sting's back? Sting was the NWO's greatest foe in WCW. Sting was never a member of the NWO. Oh, apart from that very brief period with the Wolfpack. To be honest, I was expecting Hogan, Nash and Hall to suddenly turn on Sting and form one huge faction with DX. It's the Clique, but with the Outlaws and Hogan as well. Sean Waltman, X-Pac, Six, 123 Kid, whatever, he was a part of both factions. So why make it seem like he was exclusive with DX? Shouldn't he felt torn between the two? That felt like a missed opportunity. Hogan's more known as a WWE guy, so is Nash, if we're being honest. So why would they be defending WCW? Oh, and when Nash fell over, was I the only guy that thought his quad had gone again? Sorry, Kev. I don't get what the purpose of overbooking the hell out of an already good match was for. Didn't anyone hear the chants of "this is awesome" and "you've still got it"? Come on, lads. Sometimes less is more. And Triple H gets the win over Sting. What, really? And then they shook hands afterwards, after Trippers had twatted Sting in the mush with a broken bit of sledgehammer. What? All of it made absolutely no sense, and it tarnished such an excellent build-up prior to the pay-per-view. It also kind of spoiled my enjoyment of the pay-per-view as well, to be honest, because it was like, yeah, it's a good pay-per-view, but what about this? Letting Sting take a loss to Triple H doesn't make sense. Triple H had nothing on the line, and he's going to be the top bad guy in the business, regardless of the outcome. So really, I don't know what's next for Sting. Although the crowd on the Raw after WrestleMania were all chanting Undertaker, Undertaker, Sting actually finished that night with a Scorpion Death Drop on Bo Dallas, of all people. Anyway, it's time for the musical performances, and just look at the sheer number of people going for a piss break. I don't know who some of these people are that came out on the stage to sing for us, but they should be used as a cautionary tale against the dangers of shitty tattoos. And then, just how thoughtful was it of WWE to put on the Divas tag team match after the music performance so that you didn't need to rush your piss break, and could no doubt stop off at the merchandise stand before you were heading back to your seats. The Divas tag team match, it came across as something that would be thrown together on an episode of Raw, rather than being something that would be on the biggest event of the year. Why wasn't the Divas title being defended here? Still, decent enough, with Paige and AJ winning over the Bellas. Cena versus Rusev was officially the match that sent most of us to sleep in our household, despite Rusev coming out to the ring in a fucking tank. I mean, holy shit. Having said that, during the match, the two of them did come out of their comfort zone on more than one occasion, with Rusev hitting a top rope diving headbutt and copying Kevin Owens' corner cannonball move, whilst Cena went for a springboard Stone Cold Stunner. Yes, really. Rusev and Cena traded their submission holds with each other, and Lana threw her shoes in the ring for some reason. Moments later, Cena sent Rusev crashing into Lana, delivered the attitude adjustment, and picked up another United States Championship to add to his already impressive resume. Good chemistry between the two. Certainly wouldn't be surprised if they clash again at Extreme Rules, but considering that Rusev left Lana at ringside, he might be going into this rematch without her. So WWE now has Bryan and Cena holding their mid-card titles, so expect both of those belts to be rejuvenated now. I said that Daniel Bryan was a good fit for the IC belt. You know, he's cut from the same cloth as guys like Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Ricky Steamboat, etc., etc. Cena is a particularly good fit for the United States belt, as he'll no doubt have it with him when he's visiting, kids in hospital and when he's visiting the armed forces and what have you. I mentioned in my one of my sort of first podcast videos on here that WWE needed to do something to make the IC belt and the US belt seem important again, and this is definitely a step in the right direction for both of those belts. So, with only 3 matches left to go in the remaining 1 hour 50 minutes, it's time for some more filler going on, with Trippers and Steph in the ring doing a bit of gloating, which leads to The Rock coming out to have a stare down with Tripper and to make some penis-related jokes. Steph then gives Rock a slap across the chops and dares him to hit her. So The Rock exits the ring and brings in Ronda Rousey from the crowd, who just so happens to be an undefeated female UFC fighter, as well as The Rock's co-star in the latest Fast and the Furious movie. She's also wearing a Dragon Ball Z meme t-shirt with "It's over 9,000" written across it, which just seems bizarre. The Rock attacks Trippers. Rosie takes down Trippers to the floor before wrenching Stephanie's arm and sending the Authority running for the hills. Don't be surprised if this becomes part of the build-up for a match at next year's WrestleMania. Rock versus Triple H, or maybe Rock and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie. It could happen. So, next up it's The Undertaker's match, and I have to say, he looked like he was in much better shape this year than what he was at last year's Mania. Let's be honest, last year's Mania, he looked like shit. He looked like he hadn't been to the gym in months. He looked like he'd actually been hitting the treadmill this year. He also seems to be heading back towards the American Badass look. He's got the leather trousers back and he's got the shorter hair returning. Thank God that stupid mohawk is gone, although Sheamus now seems to have adopted it. Taker's match against Wyatt was a short one, but that was probably for the best. Highlights of the match included Taker and Wyatt kicking out of each other's finishers, and Taker doing his zombie sit-up and stare at Wyatt while he was doing the spider walk. Wyatt's facial expressions told the whole story here. A second tombstone finished Wyatt off, and that concluded a much better Taker performance than last year. I think the biggest shock was not only that the Undertaker's undefeated streak came to an end last year, but also it came to an end in what was a rather dull match, let's be honest. So in the main event, Reigns and Lesnar absolutely beat the crap out of each other. Lesnar German suplexed Reigns countless times and F5'd him about 4 times as well, and still couldn't pin him. Reigns kept laughing off the beating and coming back for more, which kind of reminded me of Tyler Durden from Fight Club. Lesnar's face was cut open in numerous places, and he bled heavily after getting his head rammed into the ring post. 3 Superman punches and a couple of spears from Reigns couldn't pin Lesnar either. With both competitors absolutely spent, Seth Rollins came running down to the ring to cash in his Money in the Bank and turn this into a triple threat match. Rollins curb stomped Lesnar, then went to do it a second time only to get caught up in the F5, but Reigns speared Lesnar before he could complete the move. Lesnar was sent to the outside, whilst Rollins curb stomped Reigns while he was still down to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins is your new champion. A great way to conclude WrestleMania, with the first ever NXT champion being crowned as the new King of the Mountain, and in doing so, WWE solved a puzzle that didn't seem solvable. How do you get the title off Lesnar and protect him now that his future is remaining with the WWE? How do you respond to the question surrounding Roman Reigns' readiness to be a headliner? The answer to both of those questions is Seth Rollins. Brock and Roman still looked strong. Reigns kicked out of several F5s and German suplexes, and Lesnar wasn't pinned. Perfect booking moving forward, in my opinion. So again, despite some obvious filler and some questionable booking, WrestleMania was an excellent show and was well worth staying up late for. We have new champions that will bring some much needed prestige back to a certain couple of belts, and Seth Rollins has now solidified his status as one of WWE's top stars. At least, if anything, Rollins can use that belt to cover himself up just in case any more dick pics get leaked online. I suppose it's quite fitting that the dick pic guy won the belt off the guy that appears to have a penis chest tattoo. In the Raw that followed, 24 hours later, Lesnar went absolutely apeshit, destroyed the ringside area, F5'd Michael Cole, and got himself suspended, thus eliminating Rollins' biggest threat to his title run. If anything, that's probably going to end up having Lesnar turning babyface now more than anything. Sheamus also returned to the ring, now with an appearance that Terry Taylor might consider to be gimmick infringement, and a couple of NXT guys made their main roster debut, with Kalisto joining his Lucha Dragon teammate Sin Cara in an 8-man tag team match, as well as Adrian Neville, who has apparently gained a cape but lost his first name on the way to Raw. I hope this doesn't mean he's going to get some sort of stupid bloody gimmick. Also, why the dropping of his first name? I understand that they did that with Alexander Rusev, they did that with Antonio Cesaro, but to be honest, the name Rusev and Cesaro still sounds cool, still sounds quite scary, whilst a name like Neville doesn't. You say Neville, and I think of the bloke from the Harry Potter books, Neville Longbottom. Anyway, the next couple of months should be interesting, what with the plethora of matches that must surely await Neville against the likes of Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, and Bad News Barrett over the Intercontinental Championship. A title that would very much fit the Brit very well, I think. WWE might get a lot of things wrong, and when they do, I certainly complain about it. But when they do it right, they absolutely smash it right out of the park. In conclusion, this was a great WrestleMania, and the Raw that followed was pretty good as well. Gets a thumbs up here from the Big Daddy D. So really, other than, as I say, Sting losing to Triple H didn't make any sense. It'd be nice if Miz had won the Battle Royal. Aside from that, no complaints here. Thumbs way, way up for WrestleMania 31. And that's it for another podcast type video thing here on All-CAW Wrestling. Do be sure to join us again. We'll be going back into the WWE Network and delving back to 1988 when we take a look at WCW's or NWA's Great American Bash. But until next time, this is the Big Daddy D signing off.